She's behaviourist. She's a trainer. Oh, this is Georgia on Raw, by the way. It's Wednesday, it's 8 o'clock, and it's one of my favourite times of the week because we can talk about health, we can talk about food, we can talk about life, we can talk about goodness, we can talk about network and our community. So welcome, guys. Welcome, everybody. It's absolutely fabulous to see you here. We've got a zillion things to talk about with Jo, so I'm just going to jump straight in. I'm going to get her up to come and see us here. Jo,
hey Nick,
how are you?
I'm good, surviving.
Oh, it's crazy times, isn't it? But
it's crazy times.
This is almost as good as sitting down for a coffee with you and chewing the fat. So it's great to see you. I'm going to jump straight in and I'm going to say, please tell us about you and what you do. Just before we get to the main part of the talk, just give us a little bit of background of what you do and why you do it, kind of background stuff.
Sure. So I'm a dog behaviourist and my company's Dog Trouble. And I basically rehabilitate dogs with behaviour issues.
Right.
But a little bit different to some trainers and behaviourists out there in that I think of a dog as a whole. So I very much look at a dog's physical health, their mental health, their spiritual health, to build a picture for me to understand how that dog is feeling. And then I go about putting together a rehabilitation plan with the owners and either having the dog here for rehabilitation to kickstart it off or just going straight into coaching with the owners. And really it's probably 80% teaching the owners.
Yeah.
It's educating people to understand about how dogs think and understand that it's very different to humans. And teach them the skills really to be able to give their dog leadership, give them direction, understand how to correct the behaviors they don't want. So it's really empowering people and giving them the skills to then implement that on a long-term basis.
Yeah, but why do you do it? Why?
I love it. So
did you leave school thinking, I want to be a dog behaviourist? Bet you did it.
Oh God, no. I was born a leader, Nick.
I know. That's why I'm super polite to you.
I was never interested in working for other people.
Okay.
No interest whatsoever. But I knew I always wanted to work for myself or own my own company. I just didn't know what in.
Yeah.
So for years I was a teacher. I used to teach kids with behaviour issues in sport.
Yeah.
And then it was in about 2002, maybe 2004. I had a Springer Spaniel at the time, and then I did what everybody does. I went down to the local rescue and I saw this poor, helpless looking dog that was a rescue from Wales at the time and basking in the sunshine, looking really sad, and adopted her. And very quickly, I realized that she had some behavior issues. And she was very, very fear aggressive. She would attack my Springer Spaniel on a daily basis. And I was like most owners in that I was just bawling my eyes out. I was screaming and shouting at the dogs. There was blood all up the walls. I didn't know what to do. And it was then that I started seeing Cesar Millan, Dog Whisperer, on TV. And I realized, wow, that's what I want to do. So I started learning about dog behavior and reading lots of different methods and books and practicing and getting bitten and then reflecting on what I did and going back to it again. And then I took the plunge in 2010 to give up my well-paid pensioned job and jump off the cliff and start practicing as a dog behaviourist. Everybody thought I was nuts. Nobody thought people would pay money to get me to help them with their dogs. They thought I was crazy.
Right.
So I was out there on my own for a number of years with lots of people thinking I was just off the wall and, didn't know what I was doing, blah, blah, blah. And so it's growing from there.
Wow.
love it.
You mentioned Cesar Milan. He's kind of controversial. He's kind of a Marmite kind of figure, isn't he? You either love him or hate him.
Absolutely.
How's he thought of in the behaviour world these days?
Well, the same really. You've got kind of a split community in this country and worldwide of people that are very driven by positive, what I call positive only, treat-based training.
Yeah.
And then you've got people like the Cesar Milan followers who are very open-minded about training methods and very much in touch with the instinctual principles of dogs and, you know, dogs being a pack animal. So you've kind of got a bit of a divide. So you've got people that love that method and people that don't love that method, like anything in life, you know. And we were talking about it earlier, and you know, we both of us, I think, have got no interest whatsoever in discussing with people that want to send us hate mail and goodness knows what else. You know, we just shelve them. I call them toxic energy in my world, and I have no room for toxic energy.
Yeah, say goodbye and move on. There is too much to do. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great. So dog trouble. Tell us about your methods, because we had about a 8-minute chat at 7:30 to make sure that all the elastic bands on the internet were working and we were going to be able to talk. But we got through a lot, as we always do. As you can see, I don't normally actually even talk at this speed. I'm really excited. And one of the things we talked about was being slightly controversial within your field. I'm considered fairly maverick within the veterinary field, and you were saying that you are considered fairly off the wall as well within the behavioral. Why are you considered not vanilla within the behavior world?
For me, it makes no sense, because I think what makes me different is that I'm very open-minded. And I have what I call a toolbox of methods, of strategies, of tools that I will use depending on what motivates that dog to learn.
Yeah.
So those tools might be food, if that dog's food driven. It might be whistles, it might be, toys, whatever. Or it might be none of the above. But it's very much about observing dogs, understanding how they communicate with each other, how they communicate through body language, through energy, and learning by observing them how they correct each other, how they give each other direction and leadership, and then basically emulating that in the methods I use to give dogs direction.
I think there's a lot of wisdom there, because dogs obviously know more about dog behavior than we ever will, and so to follow their lead, I think that's brilliant. Do many people do that?
Pardon?
Do many people do that? Kind of really look at dogs their behavior forensically. I mean, you get wolf behaviorists who just stare at a pack of wolves for months and months and months on end.
Yeah.
Do people actually do that with the domestic dog? Maybe they don't.
Well, that's my favorite time of the day, is just sitting out in the paddock and just watching the dogs interact. And I learn every day I'm working with dogs. It's beautiful to see. And I often say, what my pack can achieve with that dog is far greater than what I can achieve with that dog.
Yeah.
So they are very much my workforce.
Okay. Yeah. Amazing. And you, I think all behaviorists always ask a lot of questions, but you ask some really, really interesting questions. You've written them down here for me, which is fantastic. And can you go through? We've got health issues, whether they're sterilised or not, vaccinated, and what have you. Can you go through those and just give us why you ask those and what impact you've seen with that list? That would be really, really fascinating. Please.
The way I gather that information, firstly, is by asking the owner vital questions during a consultation.
Yeah.
And obviously observing their dog. And that basically gives me a picture of what might be contributing to that dog's behavior. And this is where some, not all, but some trainers and behaviorists fall short, is that they just focus on the behavior of a dog.
Right.
But here's the thing, dogs are like humans in the fact that if they're feeling unwell, it's going to affect their behavior.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why should it be no different with dogs? So we have to really focus on a dog's physical health, their mental health, their emotional health, if we're to understand why they're behaving a certain way. So when I'm doing consultations, I will ask owners things like, particularly with puppies, did they have any health issues before they got the puppy?
Okay.
Or have they got any health issues now? And probably one of the most common health issue that people will get when they first get their dog is upset tummies, diarrhea, bacterial infections.
Are you talking about the dog, or are you talking about the people?
The dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, just to be clear. Yeah.
Yeah, the dog.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And with adult dogs, sometimes, this dog might have suffered chronically for a number of months or years with chronic ear infections or allergies. And that's really important because that tells me that that dog's got inflammation in their body. And we know how uncomfortable inflammation in our body is. If you've got an infection, it's going to aggravate. I want to know if that dog's sterilised. So if they are sterilised, when were they sterilised? And I am really, really passionate about dogs not getting sterilised too early.
Yeah.
And the reason for this is it completely screws up their endocrine system. Yeah. So dogs need all those hormones for growth. So if they've been sterilised under a year of age, then that's going to tell me there might be something hormonal going on with this dog, in which case I need to know that. I need to understand, that could have an effect.
I think it's amazing that we don't look at that more, to be honest, because if you think of it, what we do, for better or for worse, and it's interesting that in Germany and in Scandinavia and some other countries, it's actually illegal to neuter a female or male dog without good medical reason. So I think the world is changing. It used to be let's neuter everything that walks through the door, but now there's actually one can have a conversation about that, I would hope. But what we do with females, for example, is we put them through at just after puberty, because the best time to neuter them is between the first and second season if you're going to neuter. So essentially what you're doing is to this post-pubescent lass, you're putting her through menopause overnight. And then you think, and then we wonder why it doesn't have a change in behavior. I mean, that's essentially what it is.
Menopause has on women.
Exactly.
You think your dog's going to be absolutely, as it was before?
Yeah.
Afterwards.
I know it's delusion to really think that they will be normal afterwards, eh?
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There are different methods of sterilising now, and I think it's more and more keyhole sterilisation is becoming more and more popular. And so it means that they keep, am I right? They keep the ovaries intact.
A keyhole is just how you get into the abdomen. The key thing for me is the ovary sparing spay. OSS is the easy way to remember it. And there is a Facebook group, OSS Facebook group.
So basically, it retains those hormones.
And then you retain your ovaries, and so you maintain your hormonal balance. You don't go through menopause. You are sterilised, neutered, but you're hormonally intact, and hormones play a massive role. So there's the male too, the female. Hormones play a massive role in our behaviour, everyday behaviour, very much so. Everybody thinks that, if you neuter any dog, a male or a female, they will get mellow, but that's not always the case, is it? There is a certain small percentage who will get more aggressive, more defensive, more jumpy, more anxious when they've been neutered.
Yeah, so if you neuter a dog that is fearful or insecure, what you're in effect doing is taking away their testosterone, their confidence hormones, progesterone. So you're taking away what gives them confidence and making them even more fearful and submissive.
Actually.
And that's why I always say to people, just hold off neutering your dog. Let me assess them first, because if there's any issue of fear and insecurity there, we're not going to achieve anything. We're going to make things worse by neutering them.
Yeah.
And in some cases, you know, I've got a case at the moment with 14-month-old male dog, and I wouldn't normally, and he's a big dog, and I wouldn't normally recommend castrating them, particularly bigger dogs. They can take 2-3 years to grow.
Totally.
But with him, he is so reactive and so dominant that we need to reduce some of those hormones to just calm him down a bit,
okay,
to be able to achieve what we want. So the other thing is vaccines, and it's a massive hot topic in the veterinary world, in the behavior world, in, you know, dog owner world. But I want to know when that dog was vaccinated, what vaccines that dog received, because there's absolutely loads of research to prove that some dogs can have really bad adverse reactions to vaccines. And from what I've read, particularly leptospirosis, I think lepto4, isn't it, Nick, is one of the worst.
I believe it's got a worse reputation than lepto2, and the WSAVA, the World Small Animal Veterinary Association, they admit that they get more adverse reactions to lepto vaccines than the others. So,
Yeah.
so I'm with you there, and
Yeah.
so is the science, Joe. So what kind of things do you see? What
Well,
anything come to mind?
For me, it's the timing. So people think that if their dog's had a vaccine, they'll see an immediate change, if there is a change. So that's why often some vets will disregard the vaccine being the cause of the behavioral change because it's come months later.
Okay.
But it can manifest and present months later. So we're talking about things like behavior changes. So you've got a normal dog who suddenly, if we're talking about behavior, can start to become reactive, aggressive, fearful, insecure, start having phobias, anxiety.
Wow.
So, you know, I personally don't vaccinate. I get my puppy done. If I have a puppy, I get them done at 14 weeks. And then I will titer test them at a year old, which is a blood test, as you know, to check if they've got antibodies. And if they have, then I won't vaccinate. And I'll do that every 3 years. Because I just don't believe that there is enough confidence in the vaccines to not produce side effects, particularly in dogs that have a weakened immune system.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. If your dog's got a weakened immune system, which we'll talk about in a minute, a lot of dogs have these days, then it will affect them even more, and small dogs as well.
That's really interesting. I'll tell you, one of the one of the effects of COVID is that everybody's much more aware of vaccines and the, you know, the timings and the effect that they have and what have you, and adverse reactions. But one thing is, we you know, when the AstraZeneca first came out and the Pfizer first came out, they said it was a 21-day gap, but then that's been lengthened to 12 weeks. So actually, it would be very difficult now for a clinician to argue that, oh, something happened 12 weeks later, therefore it's not the vaccine. It's like, no. What about Pfizer vaccine? What about the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine in people? It's still, and they say don't they say it has a greater protection the longer you leave it before you do the second jab? So there's all that activity just from the first jab. So I'm with you that if you can tie it, and sometimes it's difficult to be specific, you know, this dog had got anxious 2 months after a vaccine. Well, was it because he got attacked in the park, or was it because of the lepto jab? Sometimes it's difficult to say.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you can draw them together, that's really, really useful, because you can get changes in children after vaccines, can't you?
Yes, yeah.
You being a teacher and all.
Yeah, I'm very holistic in the way I think and the way I practice, you know, and treat dogs. I use herbs, I use essential oils. I don't fill my dogs full of toxins. So in terms of flea, tick and worm treatment, I'll do it as and when. So I'll do health checks on my dog. And if I think they've got fleas, or, you know, it's that April to October time, I might give them a treatment during that time. But I certainly don't use products like Bravecto and NexGard. The FDA in America has issued warnings of adverse reactions when using those products.
They did about a year ago, didn't they? It came out, that post. I posted it on Instagram about a year ago. So let's just reiterate that there is a safety warning on Bravecto and NexGard. I don't know whether it's NexGard, but definitely Bravecto from the FDA, the big honchos in the United States, saying that Bravecto could be dangerous. I can't remember the wording.
Yeah, could present adverse reactions. Yeah, absolutely. And again, if your dog's got a weakened immune system or it's a small dog, they're going to be more at risk.
Okay.
So another big topic, which I know you're passionate about, is what food is that dog on? So I need to know what food they're on, because if they're on a processed kibble diet, they're going to have tons of sugar in them, tons of carbohydrates in them, you know, lots of additives, preservatives. So I need to know, are they on a processed diet or are they on a raw diet?
Yeah.
And what goes alongside that, and it's a lovely topic, which I talk about on a daily basis with my staff, is how is that dog's poo?
Yes. Yes.
I want to know how many times that dog's going for a poo. What's the color of it? What's the consistency? Because as you know, that tells you everything pretty much about that dog's health. And I think people are surprised sometimes when I say it's not normal for your dog to be pooing 4 or 5 times a day, because what it means is that what they're eating is pretty much just working its way through and coming out the other end without giving any nutritional benefit whatsoever.
That would be a kibble dog, typically.
Absolutely.
There's a study that came out recently saying they produce 3 times the volume of stool to the raw-fed dog, which is no surprise because most of it's kind of cereal that just goes straight the way through.
Yeah, and you can see it. You can see the difference between a dog fed raw and a dog fed processed.
Yeah.
And probably the big question I will ask is, have they had a recent blood test? So I, over the years, have kind of, alongside my vets, have self-taught and gained knowledge and understanding about, okay, what do these blood results mean? And I'll always ask for a copy of those results as well. So I want hematology, I want biochemistry. And the other thing I want to look at, if I think it's relevant, is thyroid disorders. You know, what's their thyroid doing? And I think we're still in a position in this country, but I might be wrong, in that we don't test the thyroid effectively enough. So what we do, I know you do as well, is that I will send results off to Hemopet, which is Jean Dodds' laboratory, and Jean Dodds is the guru, the goddess on thyroid disorders in dogs. There we go. Her book's amazing, absolutely amazing. And it's easy to read. It's not too heavy. It's not too scientific. But I want to know what that dog's thyroid is doing.
Well, you take bloods, or you get a vet to come and take
bloods. To take them. Or if my client has got, you know, a good vet, then they will take them. And we, the owner or myself, will send them off to California.
You send the bloods off to California, and all the instructions are on the website. It's Hemopet, HEMOPET, Hemopet. I'll write it down for you. Well, actually, you know what? Don't get the book. You get it on Amazon. You get it on your Kindle. And if you're not much of a reader, she summarizes at the end of every chapter. He says, not being able to find it now that he's on the wire. There is she does take home points at the end of every thing. So if you're not a big reader, you can read the entire book in about an hour by just going through the take home points. Okay, so it's a game changer, complete game changer. The book changed my attitude to thyroid disease and so many things. And Joe, so what's your experience with dogs? Why are you so interested in thyroid disease?
I think because it's become more common in dogs, and you know, Jean Dodds describes in her book that there's an epidemic almost of thyroid disorders in dogs now. And from her perspective, Genetics plays a big part, you know, the kind of direction that breeding practices have gone. But I also see a lot of environmental stressors, you know, that have all combined to increase the stress on dogs. I see so many dogs suffering with stress issues, anxiety. Separation anxiety is the worst, probably. But really hyper, you know, unbalanced dogs that just can't almost survive without their owners. Sometimes they're so addicted to their owners, or if you take them outside of their comfort zone, so outside of their house and outside of their normal walking area. And I had a dog today, you know, normal behavior in that kind of scenario, but you bring them to my place or to anywhere new, just couldn't cope, just manic, panting, climbing up on the owner, just completely stressed out. So I think we're seeing more and more dogs that are exhibiting anxiety because they're living in a stressful environment now. And we look at stress in terms of, you know, the environmental stress that they might be feeling from their owners. We look at stress in terms of the toxins, the chemicals that are present in life today. You know, the amount of flea, tick, worm treatment we're using on them, the amount of anti-inflammatory medications, processed diets, pesticides, herbicides, everything. We're kind of surrounding and filling our dog full of toxins.
Yeah.
So I think what's happened is the thyroid has gone, ping, I can't cope, you know, I cannot cope with this. And for those of you that don't know what the thyroid is, the thyroid gland is part of your endocrine system, and it's a collection of glands. Yeah, lovely little butterfly shape. And I actually don't have one. You can just about see my scar there where I had it taken out.
Oh, gosh.
Years ago, before I knew anything about thyroid. And if I knew what I knew now, I would never have had it taken out.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, your endocrine system is a collection of glands that produces all of your body's hormones. And basically it's your metabolism, so your engine that runs, you know, your body and controls the cells. So if your thyroid and your endocrine system isn't working properly due to those issues, then it's going to affect how you feel. And I think I've seen more dogs exhibiting symptoms where they might be lethargic, they might be tired, they've started to put on weight, their hair and their skin, their hair has started to go really brittle and dull, and they're shedding a lot of coat. Their skin might start to be flaky or inflamed. And they start to become almost depressed, really. So some dogs will start to exhibit anxiety or slight depression with fatigue. They might also start to have muscle fatigue as well, and muscle discomfort and joint pain. And like I was when I was hypothyroid. So hypothyroid is your underactive thyroid, which is what dogs can present with. You know, because your thyroid isn't working properly, it's not producing enough hormones to kind of keep your engine running. You start to become lethargic, tired, and really intolerant of cold. So I know now if I haven't had enough thyroxine medication, then I will start to, because I take it in the morning, I will start to feel a bit chilly come 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and start to feel a bit tired. So what I started to do was actually split my medication. So I took it in the morning and in the evening. And this is really important with dogs as well, in that they can't have it with food. They've got to have it, I think it's 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours after. I always just say, for ease of remembering, it's an hour before. You just give it on an empty stomach an hour before, which is what Jean Dodd says. She says you feed it twice a day, an hour before food, because food will change the uptake of the thyroxine in your system.
Yeah.
So it means that you've got exactly the same amount going in every time. Yeah, very much so. Also, you were saying the classic, I was taught at college that they would be lethargic, chilly, and overweight. Okay, that's the classic. But what Jean Dodds has taught me
Not always.
is
Yeah.
that they can present in any way you like. She says something like 40% in the States, 40% of aggressive dogs have got that's aggression. That's a kind of a hyper reaction to life, and they are hypothyroid. You get the thyroid right, and the behavior improves. And
it's not just one way. So they don't just become overweight and lethargic. They can go the other way. And I was pretty similar. Before they diagnosed me with a thyroid disorder. But you get irritable. Your dog gets irritable. They might start to become more anxious, start to have phobias, start spinning, around in circles, fly catching, zoning out, hyperactive, just erratic and moody, really. And some dogs can actually start to develop aggressive behavior as a result. And I know that I started to feel crabby. I started to have a short temper. I was manic the whole time, and it's a horrible, horrible feeling. Having been through it, I think that's why I'm so passionate about making sure that dog I'm working with hasn't got a thyroid disorder, because I know how rotten it made me feel. It really did. So it's so important. And I think, at the moment, some people are a bit put off because you have to get the bloods done at your vet. You have to send them off to Hemopet in California. But once you've done it, it's really easy. Really easy.
And getting them onto thyroxine is dead easy. I think some of my conventional colleagues find it tricky, but I find using the Jean Dodds method, which she describes in the book, I think I can't remember the last complicated establishment of therapy. It's dead easy every single time, more or less. So that it's easy. It really is easy.
And if you've got an accommodating vet, it helps, and like you said, there's the whole list of instructions there. So
and if they're not, they can always take the blood, and because it is a faff to send it to California, because you've got to do the forms and certificate to get it through customs and stuff like that. If it is a hassle, send it to me, and I will send it to Jean Dodds. And if there's any complication with the diagnosis, I'm really happy to talk you through it, because we do a lot of thyroid work, and really happy to talk to you about that. So that's just a word to the wise. So sorry, you were saying?
I think it's probably quite important to just talk about the high risk breeds that Jean talks about in her book. So she talks about some breeds are more prone to thyroid disorders. So the English Setter, the Beagle, the Akita, the Doberman, the Dalmatian, Cocker, Springer Spaniels, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Wirehead Pointers, Great Danes, Labrador Retrievers, Old English Sheepdogs, Rhodesian Ridgebacks, small terrier breeds, and Staffordshire Terriers. So if you think about purebred dogs, if you've got one of those purebred dogs and you know that that's the breed it is, then it's easy. You can just test them for it. But a lot of people are getting rescue dogs, and I rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome dogs from Greece. Who knows what breeds they've got in them?
Sure.
Even if you do a DNA test. Yeah. So sometimes you won't know what combination of breed is in that dog. So sometimes they could be at high risk because they might have a combination of those breeds, i.e. Cockapoo, Cocker Spaniel mixed with a poodle, but the Cocker Spaniel is one of the high risk breeds. So, and I see a lot of Cockapoos.
Yeah, and if you do get rescues, they're going to have been vaccinated a lot, and rabies to get back into the country. They will have had, they would have been wormed a lot. They would have been fleed and ticked a lot, and they would have been fed rubbish food, for most of their lives, and maybe even in the rescue before they come to you. So that will really, also they're going to be neutered. Yeah, almost invariably they're going to be neutered, and neutering predisposes. So there's that's what 80% of the population, dog population in the UK, is going to have that predisposition, which is why the book is totally revelatory, because it's so much more present. Hypothyroidism is so much more common than we thought it was, and and it's usually really easy to treat.
Well, it's really common in humans now.
Is it?
You know, a lot of
Why?
people have stress,
Oh,
toxics, environmental factors.
Yeah. Jean talks about that, doesn't she? She says toxins, you know, over-the-counter toxins, you know, things that you buy at the pet shop and put onto your dog, shampoos.
Yeah.
Also fleas and ticks, and over-vaccinating, and rubbish food like kibble, and the carcinogens and those non-species appropriate ingredients within food. Those are going to be a stress. But you're saying just anxiety and stress, mental stress, is a predisposition in humans, and therefore it probably is in dogs as well.
Well, yeah, all the factors that contribute to a thyroid disorder in dogs, if you think of all that list of factors, and then you put it into the human world, ping, it's the same.
Yeah, it is totally.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, and so many people get misdiagnosed or not diagnosed with thyroid disorders.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the last thing on the list to check.
Yeah, which is real. It's the top thing.
Yeah.
If you've got a dog who's got epilepsy, you need to check the thyroid. It's really, really important. And if you talk to your vet, they will say, oh, it's okay. We will do a T4 and a TSH. And Jean Dodds, her answer to that is that the T4 is one part of a 4-part picture. So it's like kicking one tire on your car and making a conclusion about the other 3. Yeah, you don't know how punctured or otherwise the other 3 are, because you've only kicked one. So that's number 1. That's with TSH, and with T4. And TSH is really useful for diagnosing hypothyroidism in people. It's about 99% accurate, but it's only 70% accurate in diagnosing it in dogs. And therefore, what Jean Dodds does is she does a 5-point test. It's called a TP5, Thyroid Profile 5, and she does T4, free T4, T3, free T3, and thyroglobulin auto antibodies. She does 5 of those, and it costs about the same to do those 5 and send it to California as it is to do T4 and TSH in this country, generally speaking. So definitely worth doing it. And one of the, because we're running out of time here, Joe, one of the things that I say is that if I see a case where things don't make sense, I always test the thyroid.
Yeah. I mean, I go, you know, when I go to the vets and I'm working with a dog to assess them, I go with urine, poo, and I go get a blood test done.
Brilliant.
And that's it, you know. So you've got to understand your dog's health. You've got to check on them and just do weekly checks. You know, just check all those things we've listed: the eyes, the ears, the skin coat, the poo, everything. And every year I will get an annual blood test done on some of my dogs, not all of my dogs. If some of them are really healthy, then I don't bother. But some of the ones that are aging or have got immune system issues, then I'll get a blood check done on them every year.
Right.
I'm probably more vigilant about checking my dog's health than I am my own health.
Yeah.
In all honesty,
I mean, many of us are. I really think many of us are.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. Joe, we are very, very much running out of time, so I'm going to say that there's a lot of questions there. If you fancy, I haven't got time, I'm afraid, and guys, I'm really sorry to go through all those questions. There's probably
we'll have a look at them.
We'll have a look if you fancy. Have a wee look, and you know, if you want to talk to people about bits and pieces, a lot of really interesting comments being made there. Have you got any final burning headlines that you'd like to leave us with?
I think just be sure if you're getting a dog, lots and lots of people have got dogs over the last year.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But really think through about the long-term impact of having a dog, and make sure you do your research about breeds, and make sure you go and visit that dog and spend time with that dog over a number of visits, and really check on, you know, that dog's personality, that dog's energy levels, and just make sure that it's the right dog for you. Because I see quite a lot of people that simply have just gone and chosen the wrong dog for them. And it doesn't mean they can't have a dog, but just choose the right dog. Just spend time to really think about and research, is this the right dog for me? And don't go with the trend. Don't go with what's trendy, because I guarantee you, if you go with what's trendy, it will cost you a fortune in the long term.
Yeah, very, very much so. And they can always come and have a chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Just go on my website, www.dogtrouble.co.uk, and you can ping us an email. And I'm doing online consultations at the moment until we get airlifted. And then I'll be back to doing face-to-face consults. So you can get in touch with us.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just give me that again. Dogtrouble.co.uk.
Yeah, that's it.
.co.uk. I think you're going to get inundated, Joe, and I'm delighted with it. Dogtrouble.co.uk is Joe Cottrell. She's been talking to us, and this is absolutely fascinating stuff.
Loved it. Thanks, Nick.
To Joe, my total pleasure. Thank you for Joe contacted me about 6 weeks ago and said, why don't we talk about thyroid and food and behavior? And it was great. It's great. It's so good to catch up with you again. Will you come back and talk to us about your journey with food and raw food and dogs and behavior and all that stuff? We'd really love to see you if you're up for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, just let me know.
Okay, brilliant. We'll organize a date. So next week, guys, he says, being very organized, as you know I am. Next week we've got Christian Vegara, who is the top Chilean raw feeding vet. He is Mr. Raw Food in South America, and he's going to come on. We tried to see him about 3 weeks ago, but my connection at home was so rubbish that it failed. Ooh.
In the country.
Yeah, living in the country. We've got little rusty wire. We use barbed wire for our broadband. Yeah,
out the back on
that's what we do. Yeah. So I come to the office nowadays so that I get good broadband, so that we can have great conversations and really good audio, really good video. Joe, superb. Love what you do, and it's great to talk to you again. It's a vibrant conversation, and I absolutely love it. Best wishes to you and yours, and take care of yourselves. And we really look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you so much. Do hang on there after we say goodbye to everybody, guys. Be well, feed well, and we will see you with Christian Vegara, the Mr. Raw Food South America, this time next week. See you soon. Thank you for coming.